is March. I'm confused. Jokes aside, I'm really looking forward to this month. I think March is always an interesting month of transition. I'm ready to say goodbye to winter and embrace more of those spring vibes. I'm definitely that person that always gets that itch to do some spring cleaning in my apartment during this upcoming season. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I personally love using Squarespace for my own site, CaitlinDeSilva.com. It's an easy to use all-in-one platform for building your own little corner on the web. So I'll be going over some of my favorite features in a little bit. That's all I really got to say. So let's get into the planning. For March, I thought it'd be fun to do the first 2-page month at a glance spread of 2021. For both January and February, I had designed single-page monthlies, but I always like switching things up to keep things interesting. Typically, when I make titles in my bullet journal, I do them in cursive because cursive is so forgiving. Mistakes or messiness just add more character to cursive, so it's an easy route to go with titles. But this time, however, in the spirit of switching things up, I put some extra attention into writing out March in print. I penciled the letters first, then outlined them with my Micron in size 05 and filled them in with black using a Micron in the size 08. And as always, all of the products I used to create today's spreads will be linked in the description box below. The process definitely took longer than I normally like, and every mistake definitely was harder to disguise, but I enjoyed the challenge of the print and I think it turned out quite lovely. After that, I started working on the calendar itself. This calendar is a go-to for me, putting 4 columns on the left page and 4 columns on the right page. 7 of the columns obviously each get used for the days of the week, and then there's an extra column I add in for writing down to-dos or big events. My symmetry-loving brain hates having to deal with splitting up a 7-day week, so the extra column saves me from that pain. The days of the week and the numbers for each day of the month were written out using my Muji pen in size 0.5. I like how clean this calendar layout looks, and it leaves a little space to highlight important dates, which is nice. In my calendar, I usually mark off upload dates, due dates for campaigns, appointments, etc., etc. I've really been addicted to playing around with basic shapes in my bullet journal spreads, and I'm doing the same thing here at the top of the right page with a collection of mini rectangles. I started by outlining them and then filled them in with solid black. At this point, if I wanted to keep this spread solid black, it would have been really sharp if I simply added more black diagonal lines at the bottom of the pages, but as you know, I've been trying to challenge myself as of late to be more playful with color in my spreads. So using my Tombow in 228, I used the brush tip to make little colored globs all over the place. Globs are great because you can just let your hands loose and create whatever shape your hand wants to make. They do not have to be perfect. At this point, I felt like the spread was missing something though, so I went back in with my Micron and added loose tracing around each glob. I like that it gave the pattern just a more polished look, and the addition of the black helped tie it in with the rest of the spread too. Yellow was also a color I wanted to add into my spreads this month because it pairs so well with green, so I used my Tombow in 926 to create some small circles running vertically on the top left page. Although March's spreads in general aren't as intense in the color department as February's, I do think this month at a glance ended up providing a nice little dosage of it. Side note, as you guys know, whenever I post a Plan With Me video, I like to also publish a coordinating blog post that contains high quality pictures of all of the spreads I create. I know many of you love going back to these blog posts when you're having your own planning sessions so you can zoom in on all the details. So one of the reasons I love Squarespace so much is because I can add in images into slideshows, carousels, grids, or stacks to make them easy for you to all flip through and feast your eyes on. I can even make adjustments to each picture settings like brightness, contrast, or saturation levels directly on Squarespace. And being able to do so many things in one spot is such a huge time saver. So if building your online presence is a 2021 goal you want to get serious about this month, you can check out squarespace.com today for a free trial and use the URL squarespace.com/Caitlin's Corner to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now, I know some of you might be sitting here looking at me paste in graph paper into my dotted paper journal thinking to yourself, Caitlin, what is the point of this? And honestly, there's no practical reason for me to be doing this. Dotted paper is more than capable of helping me draw and write straighter. I just love the look of mixed paper styles together in spreads. It's the reason I'm such a fan of pasting in craft paper too into my journal. Spreads that have a lot to digest visually just end up being the most fun ones for me to put together and also the most interesting to look back on. In addition to the grid paper, I also pasted in some colored cardstock using the Tombow colors from the previous page, and I also layered on some doodled leaves that were also drawn on the same grid paper. At the top of both pages, I drew out 4 simple grids with 31 mini blocks for habit tracking. This month, I have habit trackers for hydration, reading, moving my body, and 60 seconds of deep breathing. On the left page, I created a designated area for writing down something or someone I'm grateful for every day. In previous years, I did a spin on this spread where I made it a things I feel lucky for in the spirit of St. Paddy's Day being in March. If gratitude isn't your thing though, this could also be rebranded as something good that happened today. On the right page, I created a mini section for writing out some me time ideas for March, some of which include trying out a new smoothie recipe, updating my vision door in my office, and learning something new. And below that is a spot for me to keep track of any blog posts or video ideas that come to mind. So if there's anything specific you want to see in March, then leave a request in the comments below so I can start filling this section in. The finishing touch to the spread was adding a quote at the top right that says, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." It's a quote I found online from Marcus Aurelius, another one that I feel like I probably included in a spread before, but I love it so much that it's worth repeating. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am definitely someone who embraces spring cleaning season. So to prep for some deep cleaning and organizing I want to do in my apartment, I'm using these next 2 pages as an opportunity to create a master to-do list that I'll be trying to tackle over the course of the next few months. I began with some squiggle lines that run across the top left side of the page. I love bringing back this design element because it's easy to do, it's again super forgiving, and it quickly fills in big gaps in spreads. Whenever I have a blank spot that I'm not sure what to do with, the squiggles save me. I divided the master list by rooms, one for kitchen and bathroom, one for the living room, one for my bedroom, and another one for my home office and closet. The star of the show here is definitely the apartment blueprint that I drew out on the same grid paper used in the last spread. It's a super rough blueprint, but I love the decorative touch it adds here. To fill in each task, I used a new pen that I showed off in my latest week in my life vlog that I posted last week. Link below if you want to check it out. The pen I'm using is the 0.7mm Sharpie S-Gel pen. It's been one of my new favorite black pens because it writes really smoothly, but it also dries super fast, so you don't have to worry about smudging. It's linked below, but I'm excited to keep testing it out because it's been a while since I've switched things up in the black pen department. For my weekly spread, I started off by using the fine point tip of my Tombows to draw out vertical and horizontal lines on each page. On the top right page, I started adding some black doodle elements, first with a half circle that I spiced up with some, what? You guessed it, more lines. Lines on the surface seem like such a simple design element, but you can actually play around with them to achieve so many different looks as seen here. I'm a big fan of the line. And for the actual planning sections for each day of the week, I pasted in some more grid paper columns. These columns are definitely on the smaller size, which isn't a big deal for me because I write small. You could definitely add some more room by drawing out a table instead, so you don't have any wasted space like I do between each grid. I use my Micron to write out a title for each day of the week with an additional column for to-dos, and then I drew out a divider line at the top for splitting up the main events for the day from the to-do list section of each grid column. comments below A, which spread was your favorite, and B, what is your favorite black pen? Tell me the brand, tell me the style of the pen. I want to hear all the things. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to click the link in the description box below for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Like the video if you enjoyed it, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all very soon with a new video. Until then, bye everyone.
So casually keep diving into concrete, so bittersweet.